happens if you are caught shoplifting or if you've been accused of shoplifting at places like H&M, Whole Foods, or Burlington Coat Factory? Well, a lot of these major retailers and grocery stores have employed a third-party contractor that will basically come after you and educate your ass for a fee if you're trying to avoid prosecution. Now, they have teamed up with a company known as Corrective Education Company, and it's a little bit of an issue because if you're accused of shoplifting, what they do is they basically take you into a back room and they say, look, we can call the police and we can press charges against you, or you can pay a measly $320 fine and take an 8-hour-long class on life decisions, and then we'll let you go. So this is really fascinating because it's a way of kind of avoiding the justice system without due process and without, real lawyers and people getting involved, and having a third-party company make a decision as to whether or not you are guilty of a crime that you may or may not have committed. Now, this was a company that was founded by 2 Harvard graduates, and it has impacted a number of people in the country. In fact, according to Slate, which did an excellent investigative report on this, over the past 4 years, about 20,000 people around the country have faced versions of this dilemma and have chosen to pay up instead of taking their chances with the criminal justice system. Now, Slate mentioned that there is some form of coercion involved in this, even though Correction Education Company says, no, not at all, we give them the choice. Right? But if you're told, hey, we're either going to call the cops or you can pay this fine and leave, then you're more likely to pay the fine. Now, the majority of the money does go to CEC. However, about $40 goes to the retailer or the grocery store when this fee or this fine is paid. All right, so I have more details on this, but I want to open it up to you guys so you can jump in.
So what's interesting to me here is that it sounds like they're committing a crime. The crime is called coercion in the 2nd degree.
And also bribery, right?
It sounds like it. Yeah, you give me money, I won't. That's it. It is bribery.
Yeah, blackmail.
Yeah, so I would like to see these people prosecuted.
Yeah.
I bet it probably never happened, right?
I mean, no.
Yeah.
At this point, it doesn't seem as though it's going to happen. But what's interesting is they're saying, look, we're just trying to help people out with life decisions, right? We're just here to educate people. And these individuals who are accused of shoplifting do get a decision, right? They can deal with the cops or they can just take our fun class. Now, what exactly are they trying to teach people? So the company serves 4 purposes, right? It saves retailers time that they would have to spend dealing with the police. It frees up law enforcement resources that could be spent on higher priority cases. It reduces the likelihood that a shoplifter will come back to the store to steal again. And it also gives second chances to offenders who would otherwise be saddled with a criminal record for life if they were guilty. But again, they might not be guilty at all. And they might feel pressure to just pay the fine because they don't want to have to deal with any type of trial, right? Or any type of prosecution. So I love the assumptions that the company makes as well. Let's go to graphic number 22. These people that are getting apprehended typically haven't been taught the life principles of how to build a resume, how to be presentable in an interview. They haven't been given the skills to understand what a budget is, never mind how to manage their money. So as they're going through the course, they build their own resume and they build their own budget, a workout plan, an eating plan. So that's what they teach through this 8-hour course that they're paying $320 for.
Well, that's extremely presumptuous of what they think people that steal, plenty of people steal. Who's the actress?
Allegedly steal. Winona Ryder.
Winona Ryder is the one I'm thinking of. But plenty of rich people steal just for the thrill of stealing.
Yeah.
So it's extremely presumptuous to say that. But there's an economic thing that I think is interesting here, because in the title of the article it mentions Whole Foods and Bloomingdale's, which I think of as very high-end. Certainly Whole Foods is extremely high-end. Bloomingdale's also pretty high-end, right? So that means there's an implication, like if you can go to those stores, you can afford this $320 to get out of this. Mm-hmm. But then they do mention that it's in other stores such as DSW and H&M, which are obviously pretty cheap. Mm-hmm. So that took
but they're
away.
Not like
so
the dollar store,
the
the 99-cent store. They're not necessarily retailers that someone in a lower income level would go to. So it sounds to me like it's a really clever business idea.
Right.
Yes,
it's just like these people have money. Let's just basically extort
we know.
them
Let's
for
go
money.
where the people with the money are. Let's figure out a way to trick them or coerce them or convince them to give us some of that money that they happen to have in their pockets. It's an ingenious
Because generally,
business plan.
the women that steal like the $800 KitchenAid thing from Bloomingdale Bloomingdale's, you know, they don't really know how to do a budget. That's why they're stealing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They should enroll them in a track and field class because you can't outrun a fucking shitty security guard at fucking H&M and whatever the fuck. Are you kidding me? That's what you do? I've stolen shit. They never caught me.
Yeah,
Come on, let's want to run? Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you teach them how to commit the crime in the most effective way possible.
It's like, what?
That's a business.
Chapter 1, why didn't you run?
Yeah. Well,
That's what-
I think the biggest problem is there could be people who are accused of shoplifting who haven't actually shoplifted. So let me give you a quick example, right? So now there's this whole thing in California where, I don't know if it's all of California or if it's just Los Angeles. We don't have plastic bags anymore, which is great. So I always take my reusable bags to the grocery store, and I have this one huge reusable bag that I always take, and I only buy a few things at a time. And so I have my bag with me, and I realized that instead of holding a basket and then putting it in a basket, I was just putting it in my bag, right? And I'm like, wait a minute, this looks like I'm stealing shit, right? And so someone can pull me aside at, you know, Whole Foods, which is where I was shopping, and tell me, hey, you know what, you're stealing stuff, we're gonna take you to the back, and we're gonna give you an ultimatum.
Although, to be honest, it is less likely that you would be stopped.
Of course,
you know, as we know, with that advantage, that privilege,
right. But the fact that I would make that mistake, or you know,
it
whatever,
seems
someone else could do it
could easily make that mistake and then be pulled in, and they haven't just given an opportunity to pay yet. So it's also ripe for abuse, and that's, I think, where the scary part is.
Yeah, and the thing with the bag, so you bring your own bag. I always forget to bring my own bag, so then they'll either give you a paper bag or they just let you take it out by hand. So sometimes I'll go to CVS to get toothpaste or mouthwash or something, and then I literally just walk out. I throw the receipt away immediately, or don't even take it out of the machine. So then I'm just walking out of a store with products in my hand. So yeah, there's a litany of ways that they could nail you on.
Well, they could abuse that.
Yes, the same thing. Now I find myself putting stuff in my pockets, right? And so then I get home and I'm like, oh fuck, I didn't pay for my razors.
All right. So I go ahead.
Just one more thing. Sure. So this does remind me, however, of traffic school. You know, comedic traffic school. I don't know if
yes,
you know.
I've taken it.
Yeah, and it's something where you are given the opportunity to have your first moving violation dismissed by taking a day-long class where they actually teach you about traffic, which this sounds like they don't teach you about shoplifting and why that's against the law and everything. So there is a similarity to that, but you have the choice, and it's not outside of the judicial system. You know, traffic school is within the judicial system. It is legal. It has been established. A law was passed. There's oversight.
You got pulled over by a real cop. You didn't get pulled over by a guy who works for, you know, Sears.
So it's similar but different.
Yeah. That's actually a really great comparison. And I want to end this story with a really great quote. There is an expert who spoke to Slate about this and, you know, about the legality of it. And she makes a really great point. There is no judicial oversight. There are no constitutional protections. There is no due process. And that's why this is such a big problem. And I love that Slate found this story. I love that we now know that so many people are impacted and affected by it. Now it's kind of our job to speak out against it, because this can't happen. It has to be approved by the judicial system. I know our justice system has its faults, I should say, but it's definitely worse if we rely on some employee at Whole Foods to make a decision as to whether or not you're guilty of a serious crime.
But it's not against the law until it's against the law. There is no law against this. That's why they can get away with this.
Exactly. That's why it's a huge problem.